Hello, my name is Jack Gallinger, and this is my Course 5 presentation on the Acts 2 model. So let's get started. The Acts 2 model consists of 5 things: worship, connect, go, serve, and grow. Worship is pursuing and obeying God passionately. Connect is engaging and maintaining loving relationships. Go is evangelizing people locally and globally who need the Savior, which is everyone. Serve, using our gifts and talents to help fulfill the church's mission. And grow, making disciples who make disciples. Questions as a church we should be asking, and we should be asking throughout this presentation. Are we satisfied with the spiritual climate of your church? Are we satisfied with the evangelism efforts of our church? And are we satisfied with the state of discipleship in our church? If the answer to these questions, or any of these questions, is no, then you need to incorporate this Acts 2 model. And as we go throughout this presentation, we'll be going more in depth with each of these 5 things. So first off, we have connect and grow. Connection and growing is all about relationships and discipleship. Building and maintaining loving relationships. We make disciples, losing our life for Christ as he lost his life for us. Because of this, comfort and certainty are no longer certain. We now must live with a sense of urgency to preach the gospel. Embrace suffering as a God-ordained means for the accomplishment of the Great Commission. This word, indefatigable, means persisting tirelessly, or to persist tirelessly. And I think that's perfect if our goal as disciples is people and building and maintaining relationships. We need to shift our focus from a program-driven ministry to a people-driven ministry. In Matthew chapter 28, verse 18 through 20 is the emphasis on discipleship and the spiritual growth. Go into all the nations and preach the gospel and tell people about Jesus. And then next up we have service and going. Everyone has a desire to be great. Anyone can be great if they serve. Greatness is defined by our willingness to serve. We need to start a servolution. We should want people to feel a part of something in the church. Take paper towels, for example. I know this is kind of strange, but bear with me for a moment. Paper towels weren't meant to sit on the roll. They were designed to be used to clean up yours and others' messes. In the same way, Jesus took the towel and washed our feet. We should take the towel to clean up the mess in our service to others. We should take the towel to clean up the mess in our service to others. And then love, live, and lead like Jesus did is our going. Matthew chapter 28, 35 through 40, an expert in the law asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? And he says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your strength, all your mind, all your soul. Those aren't in the right order. But he does say that. And then he says, love your neighbor as yourself. Loving our neighbors is modeling grace and truth. Not only grace and truth, but his grace and truth. Grace is an undeserved favor. Loving our neighbors is modeling his truth. And then in Genesis chapter 1, 28 and Matthew 28 through 18 through 20, very similar in comparison. Be fruitful and multiply, as it talks about in Genesis 1:28, and then go and make disciples, as it talks about in Matthew chapter 28, verses 18 through 20. Very similar in comparison as to the mission of Adam and Eve and then the disciples after Jesus has come and given us this mission. And then our worship. Worship is what we bow to. It's what we idolize. Genuine worship, superficial worship, false worship. We need to give God our best worship, which means worshiping God with genuine, wholehearted worship. I said worship probably like 17 times in that in that little 5 seconds. But it's true. Worship is more than just music. It isn't just music, but it's far greater than that. The very idea of worship begins and ends with God, with a relationship with God. Acts chapter 2 model doesn't work without worship. If we want to do the other 4 things, connect, grow, serve, and go effectively and purposefully, then we need to devote our daily living as in our thoughts, words, and actions as a worship to God. worship revolves around relationship. And then a final recap of the Acts chapter 2 model. It's about building and sustaining relationships with disciples. The Acts 2 model is all about reaching people. Our ultimate goal is to create moments that move people towards Jesus. Building and sustaining people to disciples, to be disciples, is our mission. Persist tirelessly for people. Pursuing people to come to know Jesus and making relationships involves connecting with people, serving them, growing them, and in going. And then love like Jesus. Matthew chapter 22 through 35 and 40. Love people by modeling his grace and his truth. And then give God your best worship. Above all else, love God by worshiping him in all that we do. And that concludes the Acts chapter 2 model. Worship, connection, going, growing, and service. Thank you for listening.